Hi everybody, Amber Zellhard here, marketing intern here at Sizigi, and welcome back to Life After College. For episode 2, we will be talking about new beginnings, and our guest speaker is no one other than the CEO and founder of Sizigi. His name is Tony Malz, and he has a lot of stories to tell about his new beginnings, where he started in his life, what he was doing for so many years in his career, what led him to becoming the entrepreneur that he is today, what his vision is for Sizigi, and so much more. I'm so excited to have him as a guest speaker, and I hope this episode guides you in your journey towards new beginnings as well. So, without further ado, here is episode 2 of Sizigi Presents Life After College. Hi, Tony.
How you doing there?
I'm doing so great. How about yourself?
It's a great day. A lot of good things happening.
That is so exciting. I want to thank you again for being our second guest for Sizigi Presents Life After College. And today's topic is new beginnings. And I'm sure that you have so much to share behind this topic. So do you want to go ahead and just tell our audience about what led you to where you are today and pretty much who you are?
Yeah, and I really enjoyed your first one. So hopefully it doesn't go down too much on this one. Yeah, real quick about me. So Tony Malz, born and raised in San Diego. Been here my whole life. It's a beautiful place. Received my bachelor's and master's at San Diego State. I've worked about 20 years in the profession, a little bit in the stock market, a little bit strategy consulting. But most of my time has been working in corporate finance at some big companies like Intuit and FICO. And you know, in 2019, departed from FICO, and I thought it'd be pretty easy to get a job. And it was the first time I had to look for a job in almost 20 years. And it was like, holy cow, we're still using a resume and job board. It's so antiquated. So that kind of kickstarted my passion to really building the best digital tools and platforms to help job seekers get hired faster. And that's kind of where Sizigi comes into play.
That is super exciting. Did your younger self or did young Tony ever envision himself owning his own company one day?
You know, that's a great question. I came from, separated parents. So with my mom and my stepdad, they owned their own roofing business. So they were always entrepreneurs and it was highly successful. And I even did a little bit of roofing in high school. On my dad's side, he was a real estate agent, very successful, and was able to retire earlier at a young age at about 50. So you think that and say, yeah, go right into entrepreneurship, but I really never thought about it. I always thought about working at big companies. I would say, the companies I looked at when I was working, the ones that I really enjoyed almost had that empowerment where you were almost like an entrepreneur. So at FICO, I felt like I was able to make a lot of big strategic decisions, and it almost felt like it was your company or you're a major part of it. So I would say, for me, I always felt like it was kind of natural being a leader, an entrepreneur, whether that was owning my own company or playing a major role within a larger organization.
Okay, awesome. See, I have always kind of thought about that because I know that you were in finance for like so long. And then you go from being in finance to creating your own business that isn't really revolved around finance at all. It's mostly about just making a digital platform for the whole job hunt. And so with today's topic, new beginnings, did you have to learn like a lot of new concepts or new things when you were starting this business or getting into just what you're trying to do?
Yeah, and I think my years at FICO really prepared me for that. So I really never stayed like in the lane of finance. I always am a curious person. So, at FICO, some of the things I'm even doing today is structuring contracts. So at FICO, structured and signed almost all their contracts around the world. So, that becomes very easy to me as I'm structuring contracts as an entrepreneur. Product development, at FICO, they have a very large product development team, probably about 1,000 people. I was very curious to understand what goes into development, what goes into product management. I also did a lot of sales. I traveled all around the world, meeting customers, understanding their pain points and how to structure that. So that made it very easy to start listening to pain points and building products that help solve that. So even though when you look at my career, a lot of it's finance, I think my curiosity and wanting to learn more and make a larger impact to the organization really was a great segue to hopefully be a successful entrepreneur.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. I mean, like I said earlier, when we were starting off this interview, I was just telling Tony about how much he's glowing. Like, it's just so exciting to watch Sizigi grow. And I know that it's going to be going in so many places. So I'm super excited to be part of that. And for our next question, what is one piece of advice that you would share with someone who is getting out of their comfort zone and starting something new like you did?
Yeah, I think it's tough when you try something new. It's very easy to fall into a routine and get comfortable and be really good at it, but it's hard to really exponentially grow. I think when you're ready to take on that challenge, it's good, but it's important to have a really good support system. So I've been lucky to have that, whether it's with family, my wife, as well as some pretty awesome employees, right? Or team members here at Syzygy. So, it started right off at the beginning with Alex, joined the team, and she can do anything and everything at a high level and is always kind of the rock there for me. And we have wonderful interns like yourself joining the team and doing great things, pushing boundaries and all that stuff. So I think it's always hard to jump out into entrepreneurship or new things, but if you really have a great support system and believe in yourself, you'll be successful.
That is awesome. Where did you meet Alex? Like, where did you start with your initial team when you were starting to build the platform?
Yeah, so I did something. I posted a job, right, which everybody does, and you get 300 resumes, 300 for this marketing role, and they all start looking similar. From there, I think I had phone interviews with 30 people. Kind of met face to face with about 7 to 10 people. And then I kind of narrowed it down to the final three, and all three individuals were great. I gave them a kind of the last opportunity to say, hey, you kind of understand Syzygy a little bit, why don't you go out there and tell me what you think of from a marketing perspective or where you think we should go. And all three people did fantastic, but Alex even took it up a notch. She came up with the logo we use today in the interview. And if you look at our logo, it says Syzygy and there's a box around it, but it's broken. So I'm like, hey, what's going on with this box? And why is it like not all the way around? She goes, oh, think about it as breaking the box of the resume or unboxing from the resume. I'm like, wow, that's pretty brilliant. I know you can just go run with the branding of Syzygy and the marketing. And, I think as I look to hire people, or I think maybe recommend to others, is you really want to empower people, right? And have them go out there and do awesome things. And that's how you can really build a successful organization.
Wow, that's incredible. It also, like, I didn't know that story. So just learning that, I mean, it makes me want to just go out of my comfort zone. And when I come into an interview, I'm going to be like, here's something for you. You may not hire me, but this is something for you. That is awesome. Wow, that's kind of also mind blowing because the concept behind the logo is just like, you never really think about it. But then, like you said, you had that question. You're like, why is it broken? But then when you piece it together, it really does work out with the whole platform. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that answer, Tony.
And it kind of ties back to the mission of Syzygy, right? It's so awkward that we use like a piece of paper with some words that's a resume, right? And you go in an interview, it's so awkward. It's kind of better when you can actually present yourself through digital content or other things and say, you know what? I'm going to create a compelling reason why you should hire me. Here's what I can do for you, right? And that's at the end of the day, that's really the ultimate litmus test is when you hire that person, what can they actually do and what kind of value can they bring to the organization? So why not just make the interview experience that way?
Yes, 100%. I agree with you because I felt, and I'm only like a senior in college, but I felt when I would apply to just my part-time jobs and I would bring in my resume, I'm like, all of this is on a piece of paper, but like, you don't really know who I am, and I can't fit that all in a piece of paper. So that's why it was super incredible for me when I came across the LinkedIn post that you guys were doing, that you were searching for marketing interns. And I'm not even a marketing major, but I was like, this is a mission I want to be on, and I want to just be a part of it. So it's just, I think that's really incredible and super mind blowing. And I definitely think that it's going to go somewhere because in today's world, we're all on our phones, we're all using the internet, we're all into content creation, no matter what kind of art background we may have. And we all just kind of want to tell our story. So that's just great. I just love it. For the next question, based on your story and experience, ever doubted yourself and your ability to succeed in this new chapter in your life?
I think there's always doubts, you might even ask me like a week ago, I might have had a doubt, right? It's okay to have doubts, because it's hard to be successful out there, but I think it goes into getting a good support system around you, right? Like I said, really great family. I'm around really great people every day here at Sizigi. It doesn't even really feel like, oh, I'm going to work or I got to deal with that person. I'm excited with all the people we have on the team and stuff. But I think it's natural to doubt yourself. I do have a huge fear of failure. I don't like failing, not just because of others, but for myself as well. But there's times where, hey, maybe this isn't going to work. Let me just bounce it off somebody else, and then all of a sudden you get that, hey, we are on the right direction, it's the right course. Just keep it going and stuff. So I think it's fine. People doubt themselves all the time. It's how do you go about removing those doubts, right? I think if you internalize them and let them eat at you, that's tough. If you go out there and talk to other people and get, great advice and great support, you can overcome it.
I agree with you there. Just keep moving forward. And I even thought about that as well today because, like I said earlier, when I was coming into the marketing intern role and applying, I had doubted myself because I'm like, I have no marketing experience at all. I haven't taken any many courses in my university, but I'm just going to go for it. And I'm just going to tell my story and I'm just going to try. And I think that that's super important. Like what you were saying is you just keep, even though you have that doubt, you just keep going. So that's great. I like that.
You're doing great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You are too. I mean, just looking back, how long has Sizigi been a part of, like, how long has it been a thing? When did you found
Yeah,
it?
so like you can go on LinkedIn and you say, oh, Sizigi started in September 2019, but there's always a journey of it, right? That just meant you sign papers and incorporate an estate. It was really at the end of 2019, Alex came on board, and then in early 2020, Zach came on board, and we started going. And I think with a lot of company and just people in general, right? When COVID hit, you had to really take a step back and say, hey, what are we going to do? I think we did the right things. We kind of still kept going forward, but maybe didn't have the, gas pedal down all the way, but we didn't hit the brakes either. We kind of just, took our foot off the gas, but still moved forward. And right now towards, the end of 2020 to what is now spring 2021, everything's fallen into place really nicely. And now it's pedal to the metal, full speed ahead.
That's awesome. We're only going forward from here.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Now, if you could go back in time, what is one thing that you would tell your college freshman self?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think for me, and I think, especially with a lot of people in my generation, I think it's changing now, which is good, is it felt like everything had to be scripted your whole career and stuff. So I kind of knew that, hey, I wanted to get in the stock market. I wanted to work at a company this long. I wanted to go back, get my MBA, a CFA. And I would say for my first 20 years, everything was pretty scripted. And then all of a sudden something could come out of your control and just disrupt that. And it makes you look back and realize, wow, maybe I should have tried different things or went to that company or took a step back, and I could have gone into private or smaller companies and stuff. And I think if I could go back 20 plus years ago, it was really live for the moment, live for today versus trying to live for where you think you might be 20 years from that, from that time, and enjoy it. And if you go and take a role, even though it might not fit the narrative of somebody else looking at your resume, if you're passionate about that and you feel like that's the right move, it's okay.
Alrighty. I like to always ask that question. I think that I asked that question last week as well with our first episode, because after you've gone through so much, you tend to look back at your younger self and you think to yourself, is there something that I could have done better or worse, or do I have any regrets or any of that sort? So it's a good way to kind of reflect on your college self, because like in my case, I'm just in college and like there are tons of things I'm trying to learn, but then I look at you guys that have accomplished much more than I have, and I'd like to know, and I'd like to pick your brain just a little bit. So it's good to ask that question. And for the next one, I'm just very curious, who and what motivates you to keep challenging yourself every day?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just everybody I'm around. So even someone like you, right? I mean, you took a chance on Syzygy to come in and spend a few months of your life, right? Or maybe even more than a few months. And, that motivates me because it's going to be a part of your experiences. How do we make this successful, right? Where you learn a lot and you look back 5 years from now, or in 5 years from now, you look back and you go, hey, I was part of that company that really propelled them to something special. So it goes to everybody on the team at Syzygy, right? It goes to, family, my wife, my daughter. I mean, when you become an entrepreneur, or even like any of there's kind of that work-life balance, and sometimes there's not really a balance there, right? So you're taking time away from that. Motivates me to provide them the best life as possible. And I think it stems back because my mom had me at a very young age, and she raised me by herself, working 2 jobs and all that, and she made a lot of sacrifices. And I want to make sure I do the best for her too, because she did a lot for me. So that motivates me every day too.
So how did your family feel when you decided to start this whole new platform and start your own business?
Yeah, luckily my wife's awesome. She supports anything and everything I do. So she realized that, hey, I was really passionate about it. It's not so much just being an entrepreneur. Some people just want to be an entrepreneur to do that. I just want to go out there and make impact. And I thought there was a great opportunity to do that. So she's very supportive, still supportive. I think with COVID, we used to have an office where, I would communicate an hour each way. And, a lot of times I just wouldn't be home that much. And now, I guess, a silver lining with COVID is being home, right? Is even though working a lot of hours, it's been really nice to be able to doing that together here at the house.
That's great. I have a question for you, I guess, and it's sort of outside of the topic of new beginnings, but where do you see the whole work situation going with everyone going remote? Do you think that being remote is helping us have a more efficient work-life balance, or would you rather go back to brick and mortar office? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think overall, my personal thoughts is there's some pros and there's some cons. So for me, when I was, let's say at FICO, I worked a ton, but when I got home, I would never turn on my computer. So I felt like my nights, I was a little more engaged here. I'm at home all the time, but as part of that, on the computer, even way late into the night. So I think trying to separate, work and personal life at home has been a little bit difficult. Where I see this in the future is, we help companies with their hiring right now, and there's companies that are going, plan to go 100% back to in office. There's companies that are doing hybrid, and then there's companies that are doing 100% remote. Obviously, the ones that are on this side, 100% remote or close to there is a huge perk to employees. For me, my philosophy has always been to entrust people to work the hours they need to, whether at home or in the office, and just do great work. So we kind of always had a hybrid or a remote, even though we had an office kind of thing. I do think one of the missing components of 100% remote is the ability to get together, kind of draw on the board some ideas and stuff like that, or even to, go grab coffee together, right? And kind of just talk more personally. So, as far as Syzygy is, we'll be probably like 90% remote. I still think it's important sometimes to get together in conference rooms, brainstorm, go have lunch, and get to learn a little bit more on the personal side too.
Right. Alrighty. So we're coming towards the end of this interview, but I just have a couple more questions for you. Where do you see Syzygy going? And where do you see it in 10 years? I guess during an interview, usually I've gotten the question, where do you see yourself in 10 years? So where do you see your company going in 10 years?
Yeah. So there's a problem statement. The problem statement is it takes the average person 5 months, 200 job applications, and 10 interviews to land a job, right? I mean, that's the problem statement. And we know what's causing that. It's still using the resume, applying for jobs and not knowing if the company's even seen it. If they have seen it, you don't really have insights on what they do or do not like or anything like that. So, And another thing is nobody really captures their academic or professional moments, unlike Facebook or Instagram, where you can always look back at all the cool things you've done. So when we look at Syzygy, 10 years from now, we have a simple goal, and that goal is to change the way people apply for jobs. No longer just sending resumes that all look the same, hoping somebody sees it. We see it creating unique kind of immersive content that's tailored to the company. We also, see stuff like providing people real analytics and tips to get hired faster. So, some of the career coaching advice out there, it's like a Starbucks on every corner, and the coffee all tastes different, right? Because there's so many different tips that people are getting, but those tips are never on their own content or their own experience. It's on those people's experiences or their clients, right? So how can we provide people analytics and insights on their own content, or how to improve their own application to interview ratio, or their own interview to job offer ratio? So in 10 years, we expect anytime that somebody's looking for a job for them to come on to Syzygy, realize that we're going to accelerate that timeline to get to that job offer, and to understand that the resume is no longer around, that people are applying through their own digital content and have an equal platform to present themselves how they wish to be presented.
Well, I'm super excited for that time to come, and I'm going to be super proud because I'm going to look back in my college days and I'm going to say, oh my goodness, I was interning for that company. Alrighty, Tony. Well, thanks so much for being with us today. Do you have any final remarks or final words for our audience?
And just go out there and, go do great things, and don't be afraid of failure. It's kind of scary to fail, but that's how you learn. And just go out there 110%. And I would say break any barriers. People like to operate in their own lane and stuff. Push those guardrails as wide as possible and go do awesome things.
Go do awesome things, from the words of the CEO and founder of Sizigi, Tony Malz. Thank you so much again for being our guest today. I'm super excited that you were able to make it today despite your super busy schedule. And thank you. Thank you so much.